A Beacon in the Dark by Noha Ijiachi. Chapter 29. Do it for me? Katsuki is half sure Deku will not show up as he nervously bobs his leg in front of him, sitting on the stairs outside the dorms. He's probably cuddling with his boyfriend or some other mushy bullshit. Considering Half-Face failed the exam as well, and didn't that come as a surprise? Katsuki distantly wondered what had gotten in him, but just barely. He must be feeling pretty bad about himself, and since Deku is Deku, he will probably staple himself to Todoroki's side a bit more after this. As if that was even possible. Those two have pretty much been glued to one another ever since the sports festival. He huffs, fishing his phone out of his pocket. He looks down at it, noticing it's just 1 minute before the clock strikes 11, when the door opens behind him. Deku comes out, expression blank, cane tight in hand, as he closes the door behind him softly. He's wearing a washed-out all-night shirt and soft pajama pants. He's wearing flip-flops, too, clearly having slipped in bed before rethinking his choice and coming out as Katsuki asked him to do. "Gachon?" he asks softly for confirmation. "I'm here," Katsuki replies flatly, standing. Deku doesn't move, both hands curling around the handle of his cane. "Follow me." "Gachon, wait!" But Katsuki is already walking away, the sounds of his steps echoing in the silence of the night. Deku follows after some seconds, carefully prodding in front of him with his cane. "Where are we going? Can't you just—" "Shut up!" Katsuki hisses, and Deku falls silent. He keeps walking forward, hearing the sound of the cane tip-tapping behind him. But then it stops, just as they are leaving the stone-paved path that leads to the dormitories. Katsuki turns around, looking at Deku's frown as he stands still, clutching his cane with both hands. "What are you waiting for?" he prods, irritated. "You can't... I'm not getting further than this. It's bad enough that we are out after curfew." Deku answers, flat. Katsuki scoffs. "Gachon, can't you just tell me what the problem is?" Something snaps in Katsuki's chest as he takes a little trembling breath in. "For starters, why are you keeping your quirk off?" he snarled. "Or should I say, both of your quirks off?" He doesn't miss it the way Deku tenses a bit, but his expression is blank, impenetrable, fingers tight around his cane. "What are you talking about?" "You think I'm stupid?" Katsuki replies, covering back the distance between them. "You think I would fall for that little line you feed to whomever asks how come you get punch holes in the concrete?" Deku doesn't answer, his mouth a thin line, eyebrows scrunched. "I don't really believe it myself, this idea. Seemed insane. But I saw what that guy could do, the one All Might fought. He could take quirks away from people, give them to others, and suddenly the idea didn't seem insane anymore." Katsuki continues, voice shivering with rage. "So how did you get it? Who gave it to you?" There's a long moment of silence, and when Deku speaks, his voice is low, controlled. "Even supposing what you are saying is true, how would knowing that help you anyway? What would change for you?" "A lot would change. For me." Katsuki hisses, closing the distance between them. "A lot!" "How?" Katsuki let out a little mirthless laugh. "You're the one who can feel what other people feel, yeah? Turn on your quirk and you'll know." "That won't help," Deku replies, voice lowering even further. "Why not?" "It just won't." They are at a stalemate, standing in front of one another, both refusing to answer, both refusing to move away. Katsuki can feel the rage inside him boil some more as he stares into the pale eyes and sees the refusal. The color of Deku's irises not changing in that way they do when he turns his radar on. It only takes a second. Katsuki grabs the cane and rips it away from Deku's hands, launching it in the grass at his right. Deku stumbles and clutches at the air with a little surprised gasp, the cane hitting the ground with a soft rustle of grass. "Did you just... What is wrong with you?" he exclaims, sounding hurt. "I'm blind, you jerk!" "Oh, please, spare me the little helpless act," Katsuki replies sarcastic. "As if you need that to move. Now turn on your quirk and stop fooling around." Deku's fists are tight at his side, knuckles white, a furious expression on his face. He stays like this, silent for a few seconds before turning away from Katsuki and stepping in the grass, kneeling down and patting in front of him, searching for his cane. Katsuki gapes at him. You go to this length just to be a contrary asshole? He snaps. Oh yeah, look who's talking about being a contrary asshole! Deku replies, sarcasm dripping from his voice as he keeps searching. Just turn it on! Katsuki exclaims, exasperated. Just turn it on and it'll all clear. No, it won't. You were the one that can dissect people with his brain. Come on, you're being ridiculous. I can't! Deku snaps, turning back to him with wet eyes. It won't help. I can't feel you. That stops Katsuki cold in his tracks. What? I can feel what other people feel, but I can't feel you. The only thing I can feel from you is the rage, Deku says, voice trembling. You are the only person I can't ever connect with. It's like there's a wall between us, and I don't know if it's you or me or the both of us. And I just have no idea what I'm supposed to do around you. I just can't feel you the way I do pretty much the rest of the entire planet. It's like all the nervous energy he felt boiling in him suddenly seeps out of Katsuki. You can't. I can't, Deku repeats, frowning up to him. His voice breaks a bit when he adds, so if there's something you need to say to me, just use your voice like a normal person. A long silence stretches as the information fully sinks into Katsuki. Just how bad things between them truly are if Deku could even connect with people like Shigaraki, but not him? Deku sniffs, turning his back to Katsuki once more as he keeps moving on all fours in the grass, searching. If it's true that you have two quirks, Katsuki finally starts in a low voice, fists tight at his sides. If what I suspect is true, and the person I suspect could have given you a power like that, if it's really him, I just want to understand. Deku stops, but still doesn't turn. I want to understand. What's so special about you that he'd choose you over anyone else? Katsuki continues, looking at the back of Deku's head. I want to understand why you got that. And what I got instead was to be the weak idiot that managed to get himself kidnapped, managed to be the reason for him losing his powers. Deku flinches violently, turning to him with wide eyes and an anguished expression on his face. The silence stretches once more, Deku shifting on a kneeling position and then standing, fully turning toward Katsuki as his heart beat painfully in his throat. It wasn't your fault, Deku finally says, measured. Kachan, it wasn't your fault. Wasn't it? Katsuki yells back, furious. I was the one that got his ass taken away by that league of idiots that stood in front of that man and watched All Might hold back because he didn't want me to get caught in the battle. It was me that put that entire train wreck in motion, and All Might lost his powers because of that. Deku doesn't move, a serious frown on his face. It was happening anyway, he says, adamant, effectively shutting Katsuki up. Look, Kachan, I cannot confirm any of your theories, but I can tell you for sure that All Might had been losing his powers for a while. It would have happened sooner or later, regardless of the battle that happened at Camino Ward. How can you be so sure? I'm the one that can dissect people with his brain, aren't I? He replies with a merciless smile, throwing Katsuki's own words back at him. I saw it happen. All Might had been steadily losing his strength for a while now. I saw a piece of his powers disappear back at the USJ. Katsuki searches his pale eyes and finds no lie in it. His heart is still going madly in his throat, the rage always threatening to rise and overcome him. Kachan, I'm sorry I couldn't feel your distress and help you earlier, Deku says softly, a little worried frown appearing on his face. Save me your pity, Katsuki snaps, angered. Haven't you learned yet? I don't want your pity. I don't need your help. You're always standing there looking down at me with those eyes of yours as if I'm beneath you. And that I can't stand. Deku recoils, his eyes widening a bit. I'm not I've never done that, he stammers before closing his eyes with a deep sigh. I've always admired you, he adds in a whisper. Katsuki flinches a bit surprised. I've always admired you, Deku continues in a low voice, eyes cracking open. You've always been smart and strong and got such an amazing quirk. I've always thought of you with admiration even when you hurt me. I've never, not even once, thought of you as someone that's beneath me. I've always wanted to taste your back so desperately. He takes a pause, eyes filling with tears, but they don't spill. And even at our worst, even when I wanted to hate you from the depths of my soul, even then part of me kept admiring you. Part of me still hoped that we could be friends once more. We've never been friends, Katsuki replies at a loss. We were 4. You can't possibly be stupid enough to still hold to that. Deku chuckles, humorless, drying his eyes on his wrist. I guess I'm stupid enough then, he says, voice trembling. He sighs, guarding his hand through his messy hair. Was there something else you wanted to ask? He adds, sounding tired and weary. No, but you haven't answered my questions. I can't answer them, Deku replies, shaking his head. I can't. I'm sorry. So what, you just gotta stand there dangling the truth in front of me and have a good laugh? God damn it, Cushion! Are you deaf? I just told you that I don't want to taunt you or laugh at you or whatever else you think I do in my spare time. Deku snaps, exasperated. I literally just told you that I want to be friends again. Are you actually listening? Are we sure I'm the only person with a disability in this class? You're a cheeky little shit, you know that? Katsuki can't help but reply as Deku scoffs. Yeah, well, I had a good example to follow growing up. He quips back, sarcastic. Now, are the words I'm saying actually sinking in? Or do I have to repeat myself? Fine, I heard you. Good! So I hope you understood the fact that I don't have an answer to your theories, and the fact that you probably should go speak about what's been eating you lately with the person that can give you a proper explanation. A heavy silence falls on them after that. Katsuki hesitates, suddenly feeling out of place. I'm serious, Deku adds in a low voice. Go speak to him. He's the only person that can give you the peace of mind you're searching for. I can't. Yes, you can. Deku interrupts him with an eye roll, annoyed. He's not gonna bite you. Oh, because you know him so well. Yeah, I do. Because I actually bother talking with others. You know the thing that normal people usually do to relate with one another? Save me this sarcasm. Oh, I'm sorry. It seemed to me that's the only language you are capable of understanding. Katsuki's mouth tenses in a thin line as they silently stand in front of one another with equally annoyed frowns. I have one last question, Katsuki finds himself saying before he can stop his mouth. Do you hate me now? Deku sighs, massaging his forehead with an unamused frown. I don't even know why I bother. Listen, you've been an absolute jerk to me for more than 10 years at this point, and, you know, I feel it would be justified if I hated your guts more than anything else. But at the end of the day, no. I don't hate you. I never did. You've angered me and made me cry countless times and pushed me to do things I'm not proud of. But even then, I never hated you. In front of Katsuki's silence, he continues. Hate is a strong feeling, and I hate people like the man that All Might fought. People that turn hurting others, killing, exploiting, ruining lives. People that make things like those their creed and their only purpose in life. Those I hate. But you, I never will. A strong wind rises, making leaves and grass rustle around them, and Deku hugs himself, shivering in the sudden cold. Katsuki looks at him, at this enigma that's been a permanent, unwanted attachment to his life ever since he had memories, and wonders just which kind of cruel destiny is forcing them to stick together despite how broken everything is. I know you used up all your quota of speaking like an actual human being for the day, so I don't pretend you will tell me what you think of that. Deku says with a little sigh, interrupting his train of thought. Now can we go back? I just want to go to sleep, dude. Okay. Katsuki concedes, feeling tired himself. He had a frankly bad day, utterly failed an important exam, and now somehow got a plate of fresh sarcasm served right to him by Deku, of all people. He still doesn't have the answers he yearns for. He's still confused and doesn't know what to do with himself. He's still supposed to just waltz up to All Might and ask him, "Hey, am I the reason why you lost your powers?" As if that's something anyone can just do, crazy Deku. Kachan? Can you get my cane back, please? Katsuki sighs, guarding her hand through his hair as he steps in the grass and goes fishing for the object back up from where it landed. Deku waits, unmoving, and silently accepts the cane when Katsuki thrusts it in his hands with gentle fingers, pale eyes pointed at him like he's waiting for something. Sorry. The word is just on the tip of Katsuki's tongue, but it doesn't make it out. Thank you, Deku says quietly, and the moment is gone. They don't add anything else walking back to the dormitory side by side. The only sound their steps and the tap of Deku's cane. Toshinori finally managed to doze off when 3 little knocks on his door shook him awake once more. Groaning, he gets out of bed and opens the door of his on-campus apartment, finding himself face to face with Aizawa. He blinks, silently sidestepping to give him space as he enters with a laptop under one arm. Is something the matter? Toshinori asks while Aizawa walks up to the desk in a corner and opens the laptop on it. Just watch, he says, waiting for Toshinori to sit down in front of the object before pressing play on a video. Toshinori observes, confused, as young Bakugo silently sits on the stairs leading up to Class 1A dormitories, elbows resting on his knees, fingers crossed under his chin. One of the patrolling bots spotted him out after curfew. Aizawa explains in front of his tilted eyebrow. Keep watching. Toshinori obeys as Aizawa fast forward the footage a bit, and he blinks when he sees young Midoriya also stepping out clearly in a pajama and wearing flip-flops holding his cane. He turns to Aizawa, who points at the screen once more. The footage is a bit grainy, and the audio isn't perfect, but he can hear young Midoriya softly say, Kachan? Just fine. Toshinori keeps watching, confused, as young Bakugo stands, the little exchange they have before they start to walk away from the dormitory, young Midoriya trailing with clear indecisiveness after his classmate. The patrolling bot follows them until they stop just as they are about to enter the main road that leads to school, and Toshinori listens, flinching when young Bakugo angrily rips the cane away from young Midoriya's hands as his refusal to use his quirk, launching it in the lawn. He observes, aghast, young Midoriya admitting his inability to connect with young Bakugo the way he can do with others. Young Bakugo's confession about the doubts and remorse that must have plagued him ever since Kamino Ward. How close he is to knowing the truth, even in front of Midoriya's refusal to confirm it for him. The clearly personal exchange that spoke of that broken something between them ran much deeper than Toshinori could possibly have ever imagined. The video ends as they silently walk back to the dormitory, the main door closing behind them. Just so you know, this is the only copy of this video and I'm nuking it right away. Aizawa says into the silence, turning the laptop toward himself as he leans on Toshinori's desk. Now, what are we supposed to do about this? Toshinori sighs deeply, carting a hand through his hair. I will talk with young Bakugo, of course. I had no idea he felt that way, but... Another sigh. It's reasonable that he's affected by what has happened, despite his cocky attitude. Aizawa sniffs. I should probably punish them for being out after curfew. He mutters, tired. But at the same time, the idea feels like beating someone that's already down. Still, you should tell Bakugo the next time he breaks curfew he's getting punished, when you'll speak with him. I will, Toshinori replies. In the silence that follows, Aizawa looks at him with a pensive expression. You don't plan on telling him the truth, right?
Of course not. We still need to protect this secret for young Midoriya's sake.
Toshinori shakes his head.
I'll think of a way to make him figure out that he has to keep his suspicions on the down low. He's a smart boy. He will understand.
So, what about Midoriya and whatever it is that's going on between them? Aizawa asks, putting his hands on his hips. I mean, we knew that Bakugo had a problem with Midoriya, even if we never knew exactly why. I've always pinpointed that to Bakugo's prideful, competitive nature, and how attacked he must have felt watching Midoriya grow stronger at such a fast rate. But what they said, it paints kind of a worrying picture, doesn't it?
I knew they were familiar with each other from a young age, but young Midoriya never spoke to me about Bakugo, and I had no reason to believe anything was amiss. I pretty much thought the same as you.
Toshinori mutters pensive.
I've always thought they just drifted away from each other with time, but it's clear that this goes deeper than we imagined.
Aizawa groans, tiredly massaging his eyes. Those two have the character and attitude that can raise them to the top and bring the entire class with them if only they started to work together. I've always hoped that giving them time to grow and learn would smooth their relationship over, but I'm not so sure just time will be enough anymore.
I'll speak with young Midoriya too.
Toshinori rises from the chair, padding in the small kitchenette to put up a tea. He doubts he's going to sleep anytime soon, tonight.
Or do you want to do it?
No, it's clear this is a touchy subject for him. Aizawa replies, tiredly pensive. If he never let out a single peep regarding his relationship with Bakugo so far, I can only assume it's because there's a personal reason. It's probably better if you were the one to approach him about this. A pause. Sorry, I'm pretty much unloading the whole baggage on you.
It's fine.
Toshinori replies, honest.
You know I like to help whenever I can.
Please tell him not to break curfew again as well.
Toshinori chuckles, fishing the last tea bag. You better write that down in his grocery list too.
From the box.
Duly noted. I'll let you know how it'll go.
Midori. Izuku.
Something warm on his face.
Wake up. Your alarm is going off, but really softly. Izuku grumbled, emerging back from the daze of sleep. It took him a while to connect back to the real world, confusedly realizing that there was the firm weight of a body near him and the beep of an alarm going very softly in the background. Oh, right. Shoto slept with him, and Izuku forgot to turn the volume of his clock back up after he came back from his night chat with Gachan, too exhausted to even remotely remember he turned the volume down in the first place as he gratefully slid back in bed and snuggled closer to Shoto, falling asleep right away. Come on, how do I turn it off? Shoto was saying, sounding quite sleepy himself, leaning over Izuku. How does this thing even work? I'm awake, Izuku grumbled, yawning. He palmed at his nightstand, bumping into Shoto's cold hand on the way, and finally found the button to stop the clock. Shoto let out a relieved sigh, flopping back on the bed. Or, better, on Izuku. Were you confused by an alarm clock? Izuku asks, amused. I've never used one. I usually set an alarm on my phone. Shoto replies from somewhere around his chest, muffled. Good morning. Definitely more awake already, Izuku grins heavily. Good morning. Slept well? Shoto answers with a loud yawn and a relaxed hum, not moving away from him. It's quite pleasing, the chilly warm weight pressing down on him, Izuku has to admit. Could get used to this. Where did you go last night? Shoto suddenly asks, sleepy. No. Oops. Don't worry about it. Izuku's eyes carefully palming around his chest to find Shoto's head. His fingers make contact with Shoto's ear, and they crawl up from there, carting through Shoto's sleep-mussed hair. It's so soft and silky, oh boy! Yeah, I could definitely get used to this. What's it about Bakugo? Shoto continues, impressive. Izuku sighs.
Sometimes I think you can read my mind, he replies, making Shoto chuckle. Yeah, but seriously, don't worry about it. Kachan wanted to ask me some things, and you know how he is. Just couldn't do it while anyone else was around, like a normal human being. That wins him another little laugh before Shoto asks, So, are you going to tell me what's between the two of you? There isn't much, really. You call him Kachan. I told you we were friends as kids. The nickname kind of stuck and I just can't shake it off. Izuku shrugs, still softly running his fingers through Shoto's hair. When Shoto sighs, his warm breath tickles over the shirt covering Izuku's chest. It's not that I don't want to tell you, Izuku says after that quietly. But you'd get angry and we have enough on our plates as is. I could never get angry at you, Shoto murmurs, curling a bit more against Izuku, his hand picking at Izuku's sleeve. You'd get angry, just not at me, Izuku replies, careful. There's a long moment of silence before Shoto replies with a little annoyed tone. What did he do? Last night? Nothing. Well, not counting the fact he launched his cane in the middle of a lawn, but that's neither here nor there. It's all stuff from the past haunting us. We're working through it. I think. Shoto shifts away from his chest, and Izuku feels the mattress tip down a bit, Shoto's voice suddenly much closer. Like what? Izuku takes his time to think. The words are just on the tip of his tongue that need to finally unload his old pain off of himself to admit how much Kachan made him suffer in the past. But he doesn't. If I told you, it would change how you perceive Kachan, and I don't think that's fair. Izuku, to be honest, Shoto starts careful. I don't exactly have a very high opinion of him already. But you still respect his ability. Even if you don't like him personally, you can still manage to maintain a professional relationship with him, in a sense, don't you? In front of Shoto's silence, Izuku continues. But if I told you, I'm sure that would change. And I don't think that's fair for anyone involved. Kachan may be a jerk, but he's got the brains and talent to become a great hero one day. I don't want to do anything to ruin that. You are far too kind for your own good, Shoto murmurs after a long silence. He sighs. All right, I'll let the matter drop. But if things escalate, you will tell me. Are we clear? Izuku smiles, heart beating lightly inside him at the protective tone. Okay. When Shoto's soft breathing came closer, he tilted his head up, meeting the soft kiss Shoto pushed on Izuku's mouth halfway. Shoto ummed that, leaning in again to kiss him once more, slower. I can get used to this, Izuku murmurs after the languid kiss broke, making Shoto chuckle. Same here. But I should go back to my room and get dressed before we go downstairs for breakfast, he added, gentle. Right, Izuku replied, blinking. It felt weird, a sensation akin to whiplash, realizing that they won't get to spend the rest of eternity cuddling in bed. It was the first day of the new trimester, after all. Shoto pushed one last quick kiss against his mouth before gently climbing over Izuku to get off the bed. See you downstairs in 15? Izuku asks, stretching. Shoto hums affirmatively from the door before the soft click of it opening and closing leaves Izuku alone. Izuku turns on the bed, chasing the warmth that Shoto left behind. The other side of his pillow smelled nicely like Shoto's hair. Izuku hums appreciative, feeling a bit of warmth on his cheeks and a smile pulling at his lips. Maybe they could make this whole sleeping together thing a stable occurrence. He surely would like that a lot. Their summer break seemed already far away now that they had to get back to their school routine. And yet things were so much different. Shoto was used to wake up with the sun, silently pat around his home and fix a quick breakfast for all his siblings, being the first one up before leaving, hoping he won't meet his father coming back from his night patrols. He was used to take his time walking towards school, enjoying the placid silence and the few people in the streets getting ready for work. Sometimes he would stop and sit at his favorite park along the way, maybe reading or finishing his homework, or just silently observing the people passing by, office workers walking with intent, mothers or fathers accompanying their young children to school. It always felt a bit lonely watching these snippets of a life he never got to enjoy, and sometimes he would be okay with that. Sometimes it would be too much, a heavy weight on his heart, and arriving at school, where he now had friends, was always a relief. But things were so much different. He still woke up early, and so did Izuku if the alarm he set on his clock was anything to come by. But he didn't need to walk silently like a ghost in his own home, hoping to not cross ways with his father. He could bide his time washing and putting the school uniform. He got to meet with Izuku downstairs, both of them already familiar with each other's breakfast preferences, fixing it side by side with ease. He didn't have to wolf down the food in a hurry in order not to linger around. He got to eat calmly and relaxed, enjoying Izuku's excited chatter about the new trimester and what they were going to learn next. He got to observe Ida, even more hyper than usual, scold the lazy latecomers that wobbled in like half-asleep zombies still in their pajamas, reprimanding them for the fact they risked to run late for the opening ceremony, despite the fact there was still plenty of time. He got to say good morning with a smile to Uraraka that sat by their side and put her head down on her arms, yawning, clearly still sleepy despite the fact she was already in her uniform. He got to gratefully accept the cup of expensive tea that Yaoyorozu offered them, as she also sat near them and started to chat with Izuku about some math problems, of all things. They both seemed to like math a whole lot more than most of their classmates. Shoto didn't have any particular feeling about the subject, so he rarely joined in their discussions, but it was nice to see two people he cared for sharing a common interest. Izuku was sitting by his side, head leaning against Shoto's shoulder as he kept debating a particularly hard problem with Yaoyorozu. There was something about how casual the gesture was that warmed Shoto's heart. Izuku seemed always torn between the need of having a point of contact with the people near him and wanting to give others space, Shoto noticed that long before they got together. The way his hands moved, as if he was constantly searching for some kind of physical connection, and the cautious way in which he would shuffle toward someone sitting near him, toward a hand on his shoulder, toward any kind of touch. All these gestures were subtle enough that most people that won't observe Izuku the way Shoto did wouldn't notice, but to him they were pretty telling. Shoto couldn't help but think he would feel more inclined to search for contacts as well if he couldn't see the people around him. That's why he opted for being pretty physical with him, despite the fact he felt a little self-conscious whenever he openly displayed his affection in front of others. If a bit of discomfort was the price to pay for Izuku's peace of mind, he would silently pay it, no questions asked. When they moved out in a group, it felt somewhat disconcerting at first, but also strangely comforting. "You're being very silent this morning," Izuku says softly as they walk hand in hand, his other grabbing at his cane, pale eyes turned to him. "Is everything okay?" "Yes," Shoto replies, slow and honest. "I was just thinking about how different it is, going to class with everyone. It's nice." Izuku's mouth opened in a little grin, a bit of pink on his cheeks. "It is, isn't it?" he says, clearly happy. "It's like having our own little family nearby all the time." Shoto blinks at that. Izuku had a point. It did feel like they were a family of sorts. He felt his chest a bit tight at the thought, but in a pleasant way, a smile pulling at his lips as he squeezes Izuku's hand gently. Izuku leans into him like he knew what Shoto was thinking. And he probably was, despite the fact that he was keeping his quirk turned off. Granted, this little family still needed a lot of work, going by the little eye roll Bakugo does when Shoto just so happens to meet his eyes. But Izuku said they were working on whatever it was between them, so he was going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Ida was trying to keep everyone in line and mostly failing. When they pass by him, he opens his mouth, but then says nothing. He sighs, as if he just realized how pointless his endeavor was, and just gestured at them to keep walking with a little smile, making Shoto snicker softly behind a hand. Izuku blinks at that, clearly having no idea what just happened, but does not ask as they step into the entrance going for their lockers. Class B seems to follow them suit, Manama immediately stepping forward with that kind of crazy grin he usually showed whenever he tried to antagonize them. Class A. I heard the news. You guys got 2 people failing the provisional license exam.
Shoto really didn't have the time to react to that. Izuku at his side, pursing his lips in a little unamused frown, hanging to Shoto's arm in a vaguely protective manner as Bakugo behind them pretty much exploded in his usual rage.
What'd you say, you son of a...
Thankfully, Kirishima intervened, putting an arm on Bakugo's chest that miraculously stops in his tracks, still not looking any less like he might skin Manama alive. Just ignore him, dude! He sighs, exasperated, just as Kendo takes a step forward and literally drags Manama away from an ear.
I'm sorry,
She says, tired.
please don't mind him.
2 people failed! All of us passed, so we're ahead now! Manama was still rambling as he got dragged away. What's his damage? Kaminari asks, perplexed, taking his shoes out of his locker. Sorry, guys. Shoto can't help but mumble, Kirishima releasing another little sigh when he pushes us still fuming Bakugo towards his locker. Don't mind what he says. You know that Manama's got some kind of one-sided beef with us. Don't let him get to you. He adds, waving Shoto's apology away with a lopsided smile. Izuku hums, clearly agreeing, still hanging onto his arm with an upset little pout. That's enough to make Shoto feel a bit better already as he leans in to place a quick kiss against his soft hair. I'm okay, he whispers, and Izuku visibly relaxes, smiling at him gently. They really don't have time to linger on what just happened, Ida urging them out for the opening ceremony. They dutifully follow, Uraraka falling by their side as they make way through the crowd that was rapidly grouping in front of the little stage, most of their teachers and Principal Nezu already there. She chuckles at some points, Shoto confusedly frowning at her. Don't mind me, she replies despite the amused little grin on her face. He doesn't really have time to ask, Izuku pulling him down just slightly to place a little kiss on his cheek. That's a bit off mark, landing mostly near Shoto's temple, before letting his hand go. Better get in line before Ida comes scolding us, he says, amused, gratefully following Mineta that guides him to stand behind Bakugo. Shoto falls into position by Yaoyorozu's side, noticing her expression that pretty much mirrors Uraraka's. It looks a bit out of place on her, considering how serious and composed she usually is. But then again, some of Uraraka's mannerisms seem to have rubbed off on Yaoyorozu ever since she started hanging out with them more. What's so funny? He asks, perplexed. Oh, nothing, she replies, casual. Yet again, Shoto doesn't have a chance to try coax more info out of her as Principal Nezu steps in front of the mic, enthusiastically greeting them. The speech he gives is not long, but heartfelt. Shoto sees the same curiosity he feels passing through his classmates when the principal mentions the hero internships. Soon enough, they are free to go, and Shoto takes place by Izuku's side yet again as they make way to their class. Izuku's expression has turned into a pensive little frown, clearly distracted, not paying attention to Ida, Uraraka, and Yaoyorozu that are curiously discussing this whole hero internship business. Guys, he says after a minute, making them quiet down instantly as they look at him. Why did Principal Nezu say tiny mammalian principal? What am I missing here? Shoto blinks, vaguely shaking his head the way he usually does whenever he's abruptly reminded that, right, Izuku is blind. Uraraka snorts and muffles a laugh against her hand, Ida and Yaoyorozu's mouth curling a bit as if they are trying not to laugh as well. It's, Shoto replies, quite unsure how to put it. Principal Nezu is not exactly human. What do you mean? Izuku blinks, perplexed. Oh, that's interesting. Ida intervenes, genuinely curious. He doesn't feel odd with your quirk? No? Izuku tilts his head on the side, clearly more confused by the question. Can you tell the difference between a person and an animal, Midoriya? Yaoyorozu also asks, interested. Yes, animals feel like less complex, if that makes sense, he replies. But what does that have to do with... Oh! A pause.
Is Principal Nezu an animal?
Looks like some kind of mouse to me, Shoto comments as Izuku gapes at them disbelieving.
I always thought he was like a small bear.
And Rebecca adds cheerful.
Have you seen his tail? Definitely looks like a mouse to me, too.
Ida weighs in serious.
You guys are making fun of me,
Izuku says, voice low.
There's no way.
Oh no, we would never. Yaoyorozu says, earnest and worried. She probably thinks he's actually offended.
I know it's strange, but we are serious.
Shoto can't help but splatter a little laugh at Izuku's completely flabbergasted expression.
What even is my life?
He exhales, putting a hand on his forehead, making all of them laugh loudly. Bro, jeez, what's with that face? Katsuki doesn't dignify that with an answer. He's pretty sure his face really isn't making an expression any different than usual. In front of his sightless, Kirishima bumps an elbow against his arm. Katsuki groans. I'm trying to do my homework.
Yeah, while also looking like someone messed with your tea.
Kirishima replies, not missing a beat.
So, what's the deal? You've been extra grumpy today.
Katsuki's eyes, traitorous, move on their own. 3 tables over, Deku is sitting with his little squad of friends, all of them hunched over their English homework, clearly engrossed in a low-voiced discussion about Mike's lesson of the day. Kirishima, perceptive jerk he is, follows his line of sight, blinking.
Does something happen between you and Midoriya?
He immediately asks. Katsuki kinda wants to bite back, ask why would Kirishima think that, but he knows it would be a useless bluff. Kirishima's just observant like that. Nothing happened. Katsuki mumbles, grabbing his eraser and attacking his homework with it with more energy than really needed. Kirishima replies, tilting an eyebrow, clearly unconvinced.
Come on, dude! You know you can tell me things!
Why is he surrounded by people that want to talk about feelings? Nothing happened. Katsuki says more firm this time. Kirishima purses his lips, squinting a bit.
Well, that's too bad,
he says, forcefully casual.
I was kind of hoping you'd finally be able to patch things up with him.
That stops Katsuki in his tracks, pencil hovering over his notes. What?
You know,
Kirishima continues, shrugging.
It'd be cool if you guys could make peace.
What are you trying to get at? Katsuki asks, frowning.
I'm not trying to get at anything. I'm just saying it would be nice if you could be friends again.
Katsuki looks at him, unconvinced and confused by the sudden turn this conversation took. Why do you care? Kirishima turns his hands, palms up, frowning a bit.
Because you were both my friends? Is that really so strange?
When Katsuki doesn't answer, he adds,
seriously, I know, you know I don't want to pry, so I never asked what's the deal between you two. But Midoriya cares about you, at least give him a chance.
Katsuki kind of wanted to snap back that, no, he doesn't. Why would he? He'd have no reason to care. None at all. And it's not like Katsuki wants him to. Why can't they just drop the matter altogether and just leave him be? But he does, doesn't he? Deku does care. Stupid, stubborn Deku that keeps trudging forward no matter what Katsuki says or does. Adamant and persistent and clearly not wanting to let go, even if things between them are pretty much akin to a collapsed bridge that's constantly on fire. Kirishima stayed silent for a while, maybe giving him time to think, before slowly looking down, nervously playing with a corner of his English book.
Look, it's probably not right of me, but knowing Midoriya, he will never say anything